back working on Project WJ today. What I've got in store, this should be a pretty, well, now that I'm saying it's gonna be a pretty quick video, it's not, because it's gonna fight me now that I said that. But we're gonna be replacing the tie rod ends on my drag link. So I'm gonna show you guys how to do this. This is something that if you have a Jeep or anything else that you can do at home, and you don't necessarily need to bring it to an alignment shop. I'm going to show you how to adjust it and make life easy and save you a couple $100. So what I'm going to do is there's a little cotter key on the end of this nut, so we'll bend that out of the way. We'll get those removed on both of these. Believe it's 19. We'll undo the nuts. We'll get a hammer and you'll strike right here, right above the tie rod end with a hammer, or if you have the fancy dancy tie rod end puller, you can use that too. And then same on the pivot arm. Got my drag link pulled out. It took me, I don't know, 3 minutes to get this out of my vehicle. So what I'm gonna do is, one, show you the part numbers of what you need to get. These are the Moog part numbers. So there's one, there's the other. These parts run pretty cheap on RockAuto. I think they're around 20, 30 bucks max a piece. Now there's a couple different ways you can skin this cat. I'm gonna show you both ways. I'm gonna use both measurements just because. The first 2 measurements I'm gonna make is, this is gonna be measurement number 1, how much threads are hanging out of the end of the adjuster sleeve. Measurement number 2, same thing on the other end. And then measurement number 3 I'm gonna make is the entire length. With those 3 measurements, I should be able to stick this thing back in. The steering wheel might be slightly off. The only other thing you'll need beyond a tape measure, a 19, and a hammer is gonna be a buddy to help you kind of back up the vehicle, pull it forward a couple of times just to make sure that steering wheel's straight. I'll show you that whole process. It'll only take a couple minutes. What I worked out was I have basically 3/4 of an inch of thread on both of these, and then from the middle of this tie rod to the middle of this tie rod is 40 inches overall. So those are the measurements that we're gonna go by on this. My next thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna undo these, I believe they're 15 or 13. We're gonna pop those loose. I'm gonna stick it in my vise over here, and then we're gonna pull the tie rod ends off of the adjuster sleeve. Now on mine, I did just recently put that kit, the lift kit, on about a year or so ago, so these are still fairly loose and free. This one might take a little bit of a pipe wrench to get off. But all we're basically gonna do is sit here for the next couple of minutes and just spin these off. Got the tie rod ends pulled off the drag link adjuster sleeve. I'm replacing mine because I'm getting noise. They're obviously worn out, and then the boots on these are torn as well. So I'm gonna come over here to the box, make sure you don't really get them confused, you know, which one came off of which end. We're gonna get them screwed in and measured out. Got everything thrown together, and the new tie rod ends are on it. Last thing I need to do before I put this on the Jeep, so I gotta put the grease zerks in. These will either be a 7 or an 8 millimeter. Got the grease zerks on it. Now we're just gonna double check our measurements that were 3/4 of an inch, which it seems we're right about there. And then I did already go ahead and measure the full length of it. You're right at 40 inches overall. So now it's time to throw this thing back in the vehicle. One thing that you want to keep in mind when you tighten down these nuts is there is a hole in the top end of the tie rod, and what that is for your cotter key. So just make sure You line the nut up when you're tightening it down, so that way that cotter key slides in there. Nice and easy. You bend it over. Now guys, I'm sure there is factory spec on torquing these or whatever, but it is a tie rod end. What I always say is make sure you torque it to German spec, which is good and tight. If you do that and you make sure there's no play, you get it just snug down pretty good, and you line up that cotter key, you guys should run into no problems. Now I got it all installed, I went ahead and tightened down the adjuster sleeve nuts, which are a 15. The reason is because with those measurements and the length, I should be pretty darn close. The steering wheel shouldn't be that far off. If the steering wheel is off, this is when you grab a friend. So you take it on a test drive, you bring it back, you notice the steering wheel isn't level, it's slightly crooked. So what you do is you shut the vehicle off, leaving your keys in the ignition, like auxiliary position. You have somebody sit in the vehicle. You loosen these two nuts, and you grab here with a pipe wrench and you twist this entire sleeve, and it'll move the steering wheel either obviously the right way or the wrong way, and you have that person shout as you're adjusting it, you know, you're going the right way, you're not. And then when you get to just about level, stop shy, because there might be a little bit of slop in your steering, which is normal on these. If there is slop, stopping short will cause you from overshooting it. Take it on another test drive. It may take 5, 6, 7 times, but if you're just doing this drag link here, you don't need to bring it to an alignment shop. The other thing I did fail to mention before I end this video is make sure you hit these grease zerks and you fill your boots up with grease. After you get that done, adjusted, you're good to go. Hit the trails, the road, whatever. That wraps up this video on how to replace the drag link tie rod ends on a WJ. Now, just because I showed you this on a WJ, guys, this can go for pretty much any vehicle that has a drag link. So if you guys have, you know, Dodge Ram, Ford F-250, anything like that with a solid front axle and that drag link, this video applies to you, so it's not just for the WJ. Thank you for watching. I'll catch you guys in the next one, and make sure you subscribe.